My name is Reinhold Mann, and I'm the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research at UTC. I guess it all boils down to an AI system is an engineered system that can sense its environment in some way, that can analyze the data, make sense of the data in a specific way, and then make decisions. And on top of that, also learn from his actions. GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. And you can decode that, but basically it's a very large language model which is trained on a large data set. Basically, you could almost say, I think they talk about the content of the internet, books, articles, whatever. And what's in the model, in the large language model, is the ability to predict the next word that needs to come in a sentence in order to be grammatically correct and also make sense from the context. I know there's a spectrum of reactions. Some people say we can't use that in a school setting, certainly not in tests or in homework. And others say, well, let's use it and understand it and then work with it, right? I'm more of a proponent of working with it. I think it will have influence, and not just ChatGPT, it's also other AI tools, right? It's basically ubiquitous. It's a technology that surrounds us. And the key is, what's the minimal knowledge required to really use it? And I don't mean just the user interface, but understanding the technology behind it, so that when you get a recommendation or input or whatnot, you can basically put a value on it, saying, well, yeah, I can really use this, but this is probably not true. I need to check, right? Double check. So it's kind of trust and verify, as a motto to use that technology. There's sort of the specific level, right? Like, for example, use it to produce drafts of certain topics or issues or challenges or discussion topics. That's probably a good recommendation. I think another interesting exercise would be to probe it, basically, to use it as it's at some level it's a black box, right? And to find out what it can do and what the limits are. And that's a complicated process because it is a black box at some level, but once you understand the technology behind it, you can sort of peel back that onion and then probe specific aspects of it. And to get to that level, you would need some knowledge of the mathematics behind it and the tools, the computer science tools and the mathematical tools behind it. My biggest concern is, and that is even before ChatGPT, right? There's been this sentiment and this, I would call it a myth, that AI is just a black box and we don't quite know what's going on in there. That may be true in some instances, right? Where people just feed, training data sets into a system and take what comes out of it at face value. But what's going on in there is knowable. I mean, the mathematics behind that is not a mystery. We know how these things fit together and how they're designed. So my biggest fear is that we treat them as black boxes and then have this it's sort of this challenge or the threat that we take the results at face value too, without having any kind of sense of risk that's associated with it. years and years ago, when I was active in the area of robotics, intelligent systems, we talked about human-machine symbiosis. At the time, we actually said man-machine symbiosis. And what we meant by that was a seamless interaction, say, with a remotely controlled robot arm, or an autonomous robot that roams around, cuts your lawn, but you can interact with it. I think this is kind of the concept which I can see happening in the future, where we don't even think about this anymore. It's truly a symbiosis with all these AI tools that help us as we go through our daily activities.